I do not think Durk plot and plan that situation.
Oh yeah, we're back with another episode of The Twisted Tea, where we come to bring you the news with a twist. Oh yeah. Now, Lil Durk faces over 20,000 pages of reports and mounted evidence in his murder for hire case. You see, his team of lawyers who, well, let's just say he has a very good team of lawyers, starting with Drew Finling.
And Drew is a outstanding lawyer. Outstanding. He got YFN Lucci a great deal. He got NBA Youngboy a great deal. So maybe he'll get Durk a great deal as well.
Marissa Goldberg, Jonathan Brayman, and Christy O'Connor, well, they definitely have their hands full sorting through 230 gigabytes of digital files, such as audio recordings, surveillance footage. The body of evidence highlights the depth of the case. You see, it has witness statements, medical records.
That's different. Medical documents.
Yeah? How so?
Because when they have a medical document, either somebody internally has told them, hey, we just had a meeting and this happened to this person, right? And then they go to the hospital and say, okay, Terrence Johnson, was he just here? Right? Yeah, well, yeah, he had a gunshot wound, or he was stabbed, or yeah, he was assaulted, his jaw was broke, right? The fact that their CI, whoever the informant is telling them these things, right? And they're able to go over there and get it. So then they're lining it up. See, this is going to credibility of what they're dealing with, right? Because when it comes to medical documents, we expect you to have the medical documents of something that we know all happened. For them to be using medical documents in this situation is something that tied to some things that people are not supposed to know had anything to do with him.
Now, for those who don't know, Lil Durk is facing conspiracy charges, accusations of using a firearm involved with a machine gun, and his alleged murder for hire plot. Now let's just be clear, Lil Durk wasn't seen on camera, he wasn't caught in the act. They say that Lil Durk paid and had orchestrated the plot to make this happen using OTF funds. Now, multiple co-defendants are involved, and those multiple co-defendants, well, their lawyer team is not anywhere near as good or sophisticated as Lil Durk's lawyer team. He might have wanted to pay for their lawyers too. I'm just saying. They didn't need his type of lawyers, but they definitely needed more than that court-appointed one. Lil Durk's lawyers did go out at one point and attempt to try to get him bail. And within their attempts to get him bail, they pretty much put out a package offering up about $1 million in cash from Sony and about $2.3 million in property and equity, along with around-the-clock security surveillance on Lil Durk. And well, you know, the judge went out her way to say, no can do. We feel as though he has way too much control of the people around him, and he just so happens to be a threat to society.
Nope.
Thank you. Now, whether or not he is or isn't a threat to society, I mean, that's just what the judge said as far as finding ways to keep him inside. Now, for those who do not know or remember, when this trial first came out, Lil Durk's lawyers went out their way in an attempt to try to push this right through speedy trial. You see, it was smart on their part because they didn't want to give them any time for the prosecution to start to come up with more evidence.
They pushed the trial back to October 2025. Originally, it was supposed to be...
I think in January was just to try to push to get the discoveries.
Yeah, no, I knew that was going to happen. It was too big of a case to be coming this quick.
And even though I thought that was a great move on Durk's lawyers team, the judge shut that down right away also. Despite the extensive evidence against Lil Durk, his team has continued to fight back, pushing for that new trial date. Prosecutors and his defense attorneys have agreed for the trial to start on October 14th of 2025. Although several co-defendants, including Houston, have yet to agree on this timeline. Now,
you know where he's handicapped at?
What's that?
He's not going to say anything.
He's not going to take the stand.
He's not going to say anything. But if you got these 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 people willing to say something, well, there's a lot of truth, right, that supports what the government's charges are, he's done.
there are several individuals whom play a part in this trial based off them being the actual people whom they say did the murdering and Lil Durk paid to make this happen.
I do not think Durk plot and planned that situation. I'm gonna tell you why. King Von, from what I see, was loved and respected and honored by a lot of people.
Wait, Trenches, I heard you speak about Jam. I didn't know. I thought Jam was just some guy. What do you think the likelihood is that he's cooperating? And what do you think the likelihood that maybe he recorded Durk and other people while they were discussing crimes?
Well, the likelihood of him doing it, man, he told some, you know,
How do you
all
know?
the members, all the members said that he told him.
Oh,
You know,
so that's word on the
OTF
street.
Members, 300 members, they say he told him.
Oh.
Anyway, his cousin, actual blood cousin, OTF Chung, came out to state, well, I told him. And you know what Lil Durk had to say? He said, you ain't tell me shit. He said, I told him. Leave him alone. You gotta leave them alone. You gotta leave the people in the circle that you got going around, you gotta leave it alone. You gotta make change. He also went out to state that multiple people in this case, well, were using their lips for the wrong shit. That's just what he said. He said they using their lips to talk and that they were fake friends. He said they fake friends. So I'm gonna go out and think that they using their lips. Loose lips ain't shit.
When those things happen, right, and people get calls, right, they ain't necessarily gonna check in with Durk. They like, what? Word? He where? We ain't gotta be nowhere for 8 hours, 7 hours, until the morning. When you got people with those mentality, Durk be at home sleep doing whatever he doing, and they just gonna move, right? Now, here goes the guilty through association and affiliation.
You flying in.
You flew them in.
Yeah.
They're here because you flew
They're
them
on
in.
your credit card.
All these things, and they might have been here because he had something to do. In the midst of it, you did that.
Now, I will also say we don't know who's telling, because like I said earlier, it's somewhere hidden in the paperwork, and the only people who know is the ones that got it in discovery. Now, in the trial, what they're saying is that the evidence stacked up against everyone has pretty much been years-long investigations into a series of violent crimes alleged connected to Durk and his associates. So they're saying that not just the crime that was committed in LA, that was the shooting that was caused out in the open, but they've pretty much been watching and following and keeping up with them for a period of time, gathering this information.
This is.
What did I tell you?
This is around the man who allegedly killed his brother, D-Thing.
What did I tell you? I said, Vlad, I think it's gonna be some superseding indictments coming.
Yeah.
On other situations between Chicago and between situations in Atlanta. I believe that shooting that they just dropped that him and King Von was on together. Once King, look, just because a motherfucker get killed, don't mean the case come off of you. That ain't how that work. That just means you riding the case yourself. But if Big Brother upstairs, the Alfred big boys say, hey, let that go. Because they know they're working on this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
We'll come back and revisit it up here on our floor.
There has also been claims of there being a snitch. And well, some people have assumed that one person snitched, some people assumed another person snitched. We will find out, although they have been hiding the evidence in order to keep that person safe for some time.
When did he get alerted? Like, at what event alerted him that the feds was on him? Because if you look, he changed the way he was moving a whole lot in the last 7 to 8 months before he went to prison.
Probably about that time.
Now, there's a lot of things going on in the background of this. Like I said, there's a lot of other people involved. And one of the other individuals whom are involved with this is OTF Vonnie, whom at first, when Lil Durk first came out, well, OTF Vonnie wasn't really around. And according to a lot of other individuals, well, OTF Vonnie is the cousin of King Von. So OTF Vonnie seems to be the person in this who has the biggest motive to have committed the murder in this murder for hire case. You see,
now if they got some shit to where, you know, Durk's telling them, handle that, I got you for this, I'm gonna pay you this, I'm gonna do this, and they got those type of things, that's one thing. But I can't see Durk. He just had left LA, went to Miami. And then within 2-3 days, double back, came back to LA.
Right.
I can't see Durk not staying in Miami. If he knows he didn't set the team, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Say they knew he was going, I just can't see Durk putting himself in the beast of the belly.
Vonnie, who would have been the one person in this with revenge on his mind. We also have heard rumors of how Vonnie cleared out a safety deposit box from King Von. Yep. Some people question why Durk would continue to keep him around him. Now, Vonnie was also the same person on the flight. When Lil Durk was in Miami, he took a flight from Florida to California, where he was out there and he had went to do an interview, as his manager had rented a house out there for several months.
If one of them was to step up and say, hey, look, man, Durk had no idea about such and such, such and such. Yeah, we brought us out here. We were out here to do this, right? We got the call. We chose to go do what we do. That's our homeboy. We don't need to check in with Durk to handle. We wasn't even gonna let Durk know it was.
Now, engineers have came out to state and find that worked with Lil Durk that the recording session with Mr. Banks and the song for Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy was done on January 25th of 2022, was where he had wrote that in a studio session and finished it in less than an hour. Now, the engineer stated that once we recorded the song, I bounced it, a rough draft, saving the format, and copy audio studio, named it Toxic at 6:33 p.m. Then they continued with the rest of the session. These were attached to affidavits and screenshots stamped for original proof filings for the audio. Now, again, the reason why this makes this so important is because it goes to show that the murder didn't happen and then he made the song referencing the murder, but yet he was just making music and speaking out as many people do. Oh yeah, and with all this going on, Lil Durk still is expected to have an album coming out, or at least a project of music coming out called Deep Thoughts, with a studio release March 7th. Yeah, in like 3 weeks. Rico Reckless has came out to state that Memo 600 dropped the location of Lil Durk's place when, you remember that time when the people had tried to run up in Lil Durk's house and the police had came to Lil Durk's house because they said somebody had tried to break in? Oh yeah, they said that at that time, Rico goes to show that Reckless is saying that Memo 600 dropped the location for that. So, Memo 600 will go out and be like on the gram and on the other spots, he goes out and gives shout outs to Durk and hoping things go good and get out, and the rest of the OTF members haven't been saying nothing good and nothing positive back to Memo 600. So maybe there is something going on. Maybe there is a little truth to what took place there. Now, as the trial approaches, both the prosecutors and the defense team are working diligently to navigate all the complexities that have to go into this case. With all of the evidence, again, there was 260 gigabytes and over 20,000 different clips for evidence that they gotta go through. I mean, they got a lot on their plate. I'm wondering if one of his associates comes forward, and I'm sure a lot of other people are too, if one of his associates were to come forward like Vonnie, King Von's cousin, and state that he went out his way to make sure that this happened, and yes, he did it using OTF funds, and that Durk had no knowledge of it. That'll probably be the fastest way to get Durk home, in my opinion. But if somebody else hits that stand and says something else, well, it's gonna keep him there for a little bit longer. And we will continue to keep you updated on this case. But in the meantime, don't forget to keep your head on a swivel, because everybody out there ain't for your best interest. And be safe. Thank you for checking out another episode of The Twisted Tea, where we come to bring you the news with a twist.
I don't think he called the shot on the one out here.
Well, what about the D thing situation?
I don't believe he's gonna beat either one of them, because it's too many people that's gonna save themselves, whether it's with the truth or a lie.
True.
And when it comes to that courtroom,
And they can just lie about
whoever get out first is where it's gonna work.